Okay, let's talk about rational expression. These are some practice problems, so that's what I will be practice problems from the homework that I want to go over. When you have a rational expression like this, what you want to do is factor the numbers first. So remember that I did show you either you know how to factor them or you can use the method we use in the class, which is you solve them with a quadratic formula. So if I take the first one, I can do the quadratic formula and get the answers. And then that will help me to factor them. I'm doing the calculations over here. So you get -4 and you get -5. So when it comes to factoring, you would do x plus 4, x plus 5. Remember you changed the signs. And then the other one, x squared plus 12x plus 35, you do it the same way. You do quadratic formula, and then that will help you to solve them. So I get -5 and -7. So when I put them in here, remember you change the sign, so it'll be x plus 5, x plus 7. And then the terms that are the same, you can cancel, like the x plus 5. So your final answer will be x plus 4, x plus 7. So doing the quadratic formula allows you to factor them without really knowing how to factor, if that's one of your issues. And if you already know how to factor, then you would factor them, and that's how you get the answers. I did put one per page on this one. So every time you see quadratics, you always factor them first. You can do the quadratic for each of them so that you can factor them, like I did on the previous problem. So like for this one, I'm going to show you a little trick here. If you go to mode 5 and 3, you can type in the A, B, and C. So like for this one, A would be 1, B would be 4, and C would be -12. You get 2 and -6. So it would be 2 would be -2, and then -6 would be plus. And then, so that's another way to do it. This is a difference of squares, so that's why I know that it's going to be +3 -3. But you can do it in here as well. Like, you can put 1 for A, 0 for B, and -9 for C. And it gives you the answers. It gives you 3. So that's going to be x minus 3, and then it gives you -3, so that's going to be x plus 3 when you put it in here. This one's going to be x plus 3, x plus 6. So you do it with the calculator. You can do A is 1, A is 1, B is 9, C is 18. And then you press equals, it gives you -3. So when you put it in the parentheses, it's +3, -6, +6 in the parentheses. Now for multiplication like it is here, once you have done all the factoring, then you see what's the same on opposite sides and you cancel them. Like this one cancels with this one, the x plus 6 with the x plus 6 in the bottom, the x plus 3 with the x plus 3. And then what is left is x minus 3, x plus 2. So the hardest part becomes the factoring. So that's why I'm giving you that tool, the calculator. Or like on this first problem, I did the whole steps with the quadratic as well. So here's another one. I mean, a lot of these, the main thing is going to be the factoring that can tip you off, because once you have it factored, then you can just cancel things, but you need to factor it. So if you have the Casio, you can just plug it in. Like, remember I did mode 5 and 3, and that's how I got this screen. And then I'm just going to put the A, B, and C. So A is 1, B is 15, and C is 54. And then I get minus 6, so when I put it in the parentheses, it will be plus 6. And then the other answer is minus 9, so when I put it in the parentheses, it will be plus 9. Now we already had this. This over here, I'm just copying from here. And then once you have them like that, then you're just going to cancel. What is the same? So what we end up with is just a 3. But remember here it says don't leave blank boxes, so you can put 3 and then put a 1 in the bottom. If everything cancels, put a 1. Now division. You always start by factoring first. So this is, you can be the same idea. You're going to factor them first. And then we're going to cancel. But there's a step before that. So let's do the factoring first. So I'm going to put 2 for the 5, negative 12. And I get 3 halves. So let me write the answers up here so you can see how I'm going to write them. 3 halves. And then the other one, negative 4. So when I bring him to the parentheses, it's going to be x, any number on the bottom, put it next to the x. So you see the 2, I'm going to put 2x minus 3. And then the other parentheses would be x plus 4. So you see I'm switching the sign. If you have a denominator, you put it right here next to the x. And we're going to do that with all the other numbers as well. So it will be 2, if I'm doing that 1 in the bottom of that first one, 3, 2, 3, negative 20. 5 halves, so that's going to be 2x minus 5. And then minus 4, that's going to be x plus 4. Now I'm going to do that top one. 2, and then negative 11, and then 12. And I get 4, so that's going to be x minus 4. And then 3 halves, so that's going to be 2x minus 3. Now if I do the bottom one, this one's going to be x minus 4, x minus 2. So there's a step here because this is division and not just multiplication. There's step here that we have to do before we start. Like there's things that you can do right away. Like for example, if they cancel here, I can cancel them. Like these, they're on the same side. But I'm going to leave them like that because I don't want you to think that you do that with all of them. So because it's a division, you have to flip this one. So what happens is, this is what I'm going to have. This one's going to flip like that. And it's going to become multiplication. The first one stays just like it is. That one doesn't change anything. So it's important that you do this flip on that second one before you go in and cancel things. So now I can cancel stuff like the x plus 4s, the x minus 4, the 2x minus 3, and that's it. So then my final answer is x minus 2 on top and 2x minus 5 in the bottom. So it's very similar to the multiplication we just did before, but you do have to do that flip on the second fraction before you cancel anything. And that's important because it will mess up your answer if you don't. Now, additions and subtractions are their own little thing here. You have to make sure that you have the same denominator. So if you don't, like on this one, what we're going to do is I'm going to do the cross multiply like this. I'm going to multiply the x times x minus 1 times 1. So I get just x minus 1 plus, and then I'm going to multiply these. So it's times 1 again, so it's just going to be x minus 5. And then on the bottom, you multiply these two. So it's going to be, I'm not going to do the multiplication. I'm going to leave it like this. Now when we combine the like terms, you get 2x minus 6. Then on the bottom, we have x minus 5, x minus 1. Now, here they both have a 2 in common, so sometimes you can factor it out just to see if anything cancels. But nothing cancels here. You can keep it like this as an answer. I think my open math will allow you to put the parentheses, but let me double check that for you. Okay, so my open math will allow you to keep the parentheses. You don't have to multiply it out if you don't want. I don't want to have. Now here is a special one because you have a square. Every time you see squares for this, especially for this section, you're going to have to factor. And that's because you need to see if it cancels, if there's things they have in common. And you cannot avoid the factoring here. But like I show you with the shortcut on the calculator, you can use that to help you doing. So like for this one, my A would be 1. My B, because I don't have anything, would be 0. And then my C would be negative 49. This is a difference of squares. You're going to get 7 and negative 7. So when it comes to factoring, I will write it as the positive 7 would be x minus 7. And then the negative becomes a plus 7. Now, when it comes to common denominators, you can see here that they both have the x plus 7. So the common denominator for this problem is going to be just these two. And the first one already has everything, so I'm just going to copy it as it is. And the second one, it's missing the x minus 7. So I'm going to multiply it here. So you're going to have a times x minus 7. So that they both, we're trying to get both fractions to have the same denominator kind of situation. And then now I'm just going to simplify the top because the bottom is already my denominator. I put x's instead of x. I'm so used to using x's all the time. Okay, now the top, we run into the same problem again. You have a square, so what do you have to do? Factor. But before we factor, we do have these that are the same. We can combine like terms. So let's do that. And that's going to be plus 8. Now, once one of the terms is gone because we combined them, it becomes a little easier because now you can just factor out an a and you get a plus 1. And the only reason why I'm doing this last step is just in case something cancels. And even though in these examples this nothing is canceling, it may happen that you get the same thing on top and bottom and you have to cancel. So as I check here to make sure that my open math takes the answer with parentheses, it will. It will take the parentheses or separate it. So when you write your answer here, I'm just going to keep them in parentheses. And that's because if you wanted to multiply it out, you would have to do the box or FOIL or any of those methods to spread it out. And I feel like that's one extra step that I was hoping you didn't need, which you don't. You can just keep them with the parentheses and don't have to multiply them out. I think some of the hardest ones are these last two that you're going to get because they have so many fractions together. But if you focus on one, like let's focus just on the top of the fraction first. Then let's just focus on the bottom and then we bring them together, it becomes easier than seeing the whole thing at once and become really overwhelmed. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to focus on just the top, get my answer for that. And then I'll go to the bottom and take it in parts rather than seeing it as a whole problem and get very, very confused. So I'm just going to take the top, and now once you take one part at a time, it doesn't look as complicated because now you just have that little thing. So if I want to solve it, I'm going to put this over 1. And because the denominators have nothing in common, I can do the cross multiplication that I have done for the other problem, that one before, when we started adding and subtracting. So this is going to be 5p plus 15, and then 1, you multiply these, so you just get p. And that's the top. I am done with the top. Now let's do the bottom. Now here's one thing that I told you that may come back and bite me. I told you every time there's a square you have to factor, but remember if you have the 3 terms with a square you have to factor. This is a square by itself, so you don't have to worry about factoring. And again, the denominators have nothing in common, so I'm just going to cross multiply like that. And I'm going to get p squared minus 9. And that is the bottom. Now, before I start getting all crazy with this, you have to remember the factoring. So like here, I could factor out a 5, and I'm left with p plus 3. And then on this one, this is a difference of squares. Or you can put it in your calculator as you remember that the b is 0. Okay, so now I'm just going to label it for the people who don't see the video. Okay, so now, because it's a division, this is how you're going to set it up. You're going to get the first one, and it's going to stay the same. I'm just going to put it as it is. And then you're going to put times. In this last one, you're going to flip it. Why flip it? Because the fraction is a division. So I'm going to flip it. Like that. And once I have done the setup of both, then I see what I can cancel. So we can cancel a p plus 3, and we can cancel one of the p's. So my final answer is 5p on top, and on the bottom I have p minus 3. Basically whatever's left. And then the last one is very similar to the one we just did, but I did wanted to make another one because I know these can get scary. So the top Again, I'm going to do the cross multiply. So it's going to be 5 plus 3a and then 5a. And then the bottom, there's nothing to factor here because the 3 and 5 have nothing in common. 7 plus 8a divided by 7a. Again, the cross multiply. There's nothing to factor because the 7 and 8 have nothing in common. Okay, and now I'm going to put it together and remember the top one stays as it is. And then you're going to put multiply, and the second one you flip it. And now we're going to see what we can cancel. The 7s or the 5s don't cancel because of the additions and subtractions combined with them. You can only cancel the A's, and that's it, because those are single A's. These A's have additions and subtractions with them, so you cannot do it. So then the final answer would be 5 plus 3a times 7 divided by 5 times 7 plus 80. That's the rational expressions section, some problems from the homework. If you have any other questions, either on these problems, on any of the other problems from the homework, please don't hesitate to let me know and send me a little message, and I can always work on some extra problems for you.